Hey boos, in this video, I give commentary based on my opinion. Nothing is to be taken as factual. We are just here to have conversation. We don't expose and we don't sip tea on this channel. I'm giving you real talk straight, no chaser. Let's see if you can handle it.
Cause I'm a boss.
Oh, hell no.
Since you want to be an ass, I'm gonna be an ass. We was just pop, she pop, I pop back. She talks slick, I talk slick back. And she gets mad and takes it off and all that. Yeah, you do that. Girl got issues, man.
You been shocking me for no reason. Shock me, go ahead.
I'm shocking you for a reason.
No, you didn't shock me for no reason.
I'm shocking you for a reason.
I'm talking to them, I'm not talking to you.
I'm talking to you.
Now, I can't even trust you.
Yeah, you lucky you ain't got it all right now. I'll be here 3 times.
I can't even trust. I don't care. I don't care. Leave me alone. Leave me alone.
You lucky. You done got hit about 5 times right now.
You so whack. You can't even follow a simple
Put it back on your wrist.
And because you don't even know what I'm shocking you, shocking me out of spite.
How you know I'm shocking you out of?
You just said I was yelling and I wasn't yelling.
Tahiry. Come on, Tahiry. You gotta put a lid on that.
You don't never learn nothing. So what am I doing here? Wasting my time? Time is money and you don't pay the bill. So don't waste my time.
Hi guys, it's Yanni and I'm back with another video. So in today's video, I wanted to talk about how being the Masculina has no long-term benefits. And I'm going to be getting into what a Masculina is exactly, because a lot of people don't know. So a Masculina is a masculine woman who wants a provider man, but she keeps attracting simps. She keeps attracting broke dusties, and she keeps attracting men that are looking to her to provide instead of attracting men that want to provide for her. So this does not include women who want to lead a masculine lifestyle. A Masculina is a woman who wants a provider man but tends to attract the opposite energy of what she is leading with within her day-to-day life. So what I have found through spiritual research is that when you tend to lead with masculine energy, being a woman who is seeking a man to be a provider, you tend to attract the opposite of your energy, meaning you tend to attract men who happen to be more feminine. So once I understood this in my spiritual journey, I decided to take on a more feminine approach to my life. Once I started to take a more feminine approach to my life, that's when a lot of things started to change, and I started to attract men of better quality, men who suited me in a way that was beneficial, men that were providers, protectors, men who wanted to provide. So when it comes to being a Masculina, there are no long-term benefits. This is something I wish I would have known earlier, but this is all about a lifelong journey. Sometimes you don't always tap into your identity until later in life, and it's all about self-discovery. And that is what being a feminine woman is all about. It's about tapping into your feminine side, healing your childhood trauma, and also creating and discovering the woman that you truly want to be. I know there are other YouTubers on YouTube who like to teach this mold, but honestly, as a Black woman, I definitely understand why the mold is being taught. It's because we have to deal with things like texturism, colorism, and we also have to deal with racism. So because of those things, you have Black women on YouTube that are teaching women how to be feminine, and they're also teaching them the mold, the blueprint to be successful. So my approach to being the feminine woman, to me, honestly, is all about self-discovery, self-acceptance, self-identity. It's all about self-principles like self-confidence, self-love, self-esteem, and carrying yourself high maintenance. High maintenance just means you carry yourself in a way to where you think highly of yourself, you have high level of self-confidence, and you love yourself. So you have this high level, strong level of self-love. So that is what it means to be feminine. We can get into the materialistic, or I would say the vanity side of being feminine, but honestly, I like to focus on the spiritual side, the self-discovery side, because that is what made me the woman that I am today. So with that being said, I wanted to talk about Tahiry Jose. Jose. She's recently going viral because she spoke out against Joe Budden and their very toxic relationship that turned violent at times.
It depends, you know. With Joey, there's no telling because it's just he's pretty much unpredictable. And I don't know how to explain. I don't know if I trust him too much. So when it comes to Joe, it all depends. I'm always, though, very, I've let go and let God of everything we've been through. So I've forgiven him for everything he did. So it's like whatever to me. Fans just don't know sometimes how to let go. I really wish they would. I know I live in my truth. Like I know how I'm living. I don't really, I think I've gotten annoyed in 10 years. You know, there's days when you just like, you have time. You're like, you know, like let him live his life, let me live mine. But I don't really like, it is what it is. I think that the world, we were so fucking dynamic when we first got on the scene. And I'll say first because he wasn't doing that well when we started, that people just, you know, lived through us and loved that relationship. But there's a lot that they don't know.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So they've only seen what the shows and the edits have allowed them to see. I'm sure that if they knew more of our lives, I'm sure they'd leave me alone.
So how are you healing? Because we know you're beautiful on the outside and we know inside that, you know, you can be as beautiful as you want to be on the inside, but how are you healing?
Okay, so the show was about a year ago. So for those that don't know, that show was filmed a year ago. We're just not seeing what made it on the air. It's hard to heal as just a person. Imagine having to heal in the public eye. So I really never really talked about none of this because how do you heal with all this noise, right? I think I'm a strong one. It's really painful to watch men do what they do and then because they have a platform lie about it to your face. Like it's almost like you're making a mockery, like you're making fun of me. It's also my safety that I'm concerned about. You know, I'm the oldest of 14. So I think that the way I was dealing with being in a relationship with Joe was tucking it in a back, just tucking it, hiding it, just because I can't stop. I have to continue going because people rely on me, because I have to handle stuff, because I have to grow in this business, because I'm not going to fold. I'm not failing because you want me to. And I just keep going until your trauma meets you. So, you know, the words of my friend Charlemagne, either you meet your trauma or your trauma will meet you. I didn't walk into that house to discuss being in a domestic violence before. It just met me face to face. And then watch your ex say something like Tahiry will fight a man. I you know, that relationship left me with a fractured rib, a broken nose because somebody was sending him a message, and I used to always say, yo, stop beefing out there. I'm out there still working. And he hit me on that nose and then pushed me down a flight of stairs. I remember having to talk him out of letting me go that day. I remember having a plan to leave because the reason why he was so upset was because I was already leaving, looking through my phone and shit. But I had already told him, give me 2 weeks to pack up my things. And he agreed to, and then started looking through my phone. Next thing you know, I got woken up by him dragging me from my ankle. I managed to get up from that floor. I remember having everything in my bag, all the things that I needed to have in that bag, my passport, my birth certificate, you know, the shit I needed. That's all I needed to get some money that I had already had together, because I was raised better. I never saw my father hit my mom. I knew better, but I don't know. I became that person that you hear about. And the women need to know that a man will break your spirits before he actually puts his hands on you. It started with verbal abuse, emotional abuse, you know, and then eventually it turned to that. And I still fear for my safety, also protecting, because, you know, he hurt me bad and I just stayed quiet. I didn't, you know what I'm saying? I went to the hospital and he sat next to me and I lied to the doctors and said I was cleaning a cabinet and fell in the kitchen.
The issue that a lot of people are having with Tahiry Jose is the fact that she has came across as the aggressor in a lot of her reality TV scenes. I have to say, when it comes to Love and Hip Hop, when it comes to Marriage Boot Camp, she is always being seen as the aggressor.
I know what? I know what? Yo. What do I know? Yo. What do I know? No, you can't stop having if somebody's gonna get punched in the face. Bro, let me go. Let me go. See the bull? You see the bull? You see the bull?
What did Rocky expect? Enough is enough. She's been running her mouth since the minute I walked in. I finally had enough. and I reacted.
I wanted to do this video to give you some examples of why being a Masculina has no long-term benefits, and unfortunately we can learn from Tahiry Jose because she is a 41-year-old reality star. She is a ex-retired video vixen, yet she is still on Instagram, and she's basically an Instagram model slash influencer. This is a woman who chose not to rebrand herself as she matured throughout her life, and that is another thing that I wanted to talk about to the Instagram models that do follow me. I love your work. I think everything that you do has a purpose, but at the end of the day, you do need to choose when that switch occurs to make that switch with your brand so that you're not outdated, because that is a thing as well. So I'm going to get into that because I decided to change my brand because I was getting older, I was maturing, and I wanted to attract a different audience. I wanted to attract an audience that was going to basically be there for me for years to come. When you are an Instagram model, if you stop taking pictures of your body, if you stop taking pictures of your assets, you tend to lose majority of your following, and the sooner you make that switch, the better. So get the money while you can. To the Instagram models that are watching, get the money while you can, but make sure you make that switch before it's too late. Please do not end up like Tahiry, who is 41, who is still posting her body, and if she's not posting her body with her assets, she is not getting paid, and that is not something that you want to deal with when you're 41, because you're competing with girls that are way younger than you. You're competing with an 18-year-old at 41. So that is something that you need to think about. You don't have to make the switch anytime soon, but it gives you something to think about when it comes to your brand. Also, when it comes to being a Masculina, this does not apply to trans men. This does not apply to trans women. This doesn't apply to trans people. That is a separate lifestyle. And then also when it comes to being a bio female, this does not include the pansexuals. Pansexuals do not identify with their gender. They don't like to identify with either gender. And then also when it comes to trans people and their lifestyles, it just has nothing to do with being a Masculina. We carry both energies as people, as human beings. You are born with both masculine and feminine energy, but it's up to you to choose what you lead with and what you decide to utilize for your personal benefit. It's all about choice. It's all about benefits. And it's all about lifestyles. You get to make that choice. I never like to feel like I'm forcing my lifestyle onto people. It's a choice. But based off of my experience, I have to be honest. If I'm going to speak about it, I have to be real about it, as far as there are benefits when you lead in your feminine versus your masculine, when you're looking for a man to provide for you, protect you, and take care of you. There is a different type of energy that you have to lead with in order to get these things. And I wish someone would have told me sooner. So when it comes to Tahiry, this is an example. We're just using her as an example, you guys. She's just an example. Masculinas tend to be super toxic within their relationships. Why? Because they lack balance. They are in their masculine 100% of the time, and they don't realize that is not only unhealthy to them, but it's toxic for their relationship, especially when they're in a relationship with a man that they're looking to provide and to protect. And so because they lack the balance within their relationship, they tend to have a very toxic nature to them. They tend to react always out of violence or masculine energy. There's no listening, there's no healing, there's no nurturing. It's always on 10. I'm ready to react out of anger. I'm ready to react aggressively. I'm ready to argue instead of listening. When you lack this balance, you create a toxic relationship when you're in a relationship with a man who happens to lead within his masculine in most cases, or is at least trying to lead within his masculine, but because he's in a relationship with a Masculina, he's kind of emasculated by her in a sense. Masculinas tend to have a toxic love/relationship, all because they don't know how to code switch within their relationship, meaning they're in their masculine 100% of the time, which means they are emasculating their man 100% of the time. An example, I'm going to be using Tahiry. She went on national television, you guys. She is currently on Marriage Boot Camp. She went on Marriage Boot Camp, and behind the green screen, she decided to basically say her then boyfriend, I'm not sure if they're still together, But she decided to call out her then boyfriend and said he was the brokest man she has ever dated.
Not a boy. You're probably one of the brokest guys I've ever been with. Oh, that's a lie. So I need a man that's a boy. I checked my bank statement. I'm nowhere near broke. What? I don't never say that again. I need a man, not a boy. You're probably one of the brokest guys I've ever been with.
And when I saw this clip go viral, I instantly cringed because what she doesn't understand is her Masculina ways attracted this broke man. And so I later found out too that this man isn't broke. He just doesn't spend his money on her. And I'm going to get into that later because I had to look up his net worth. I'm like, what is his net worth to where she's on national television saying that this man is broke, completely broke? So I did some research on him, but I'm going to get into that later. But this was something that I really cringed at because she didn't understand how she was emasculating him on national television. And then she was embarrassing herself because her masculine ways ended up attracting this man who treated her as if she wasn't worth spending money on. And that is something that she couldn't understand because she was so fixated in, she's so stuck in her ways in being a Masculina, she can't see the other side of why maybe this man is not providing for her. So that is why being a Masculina has no long-term benefits. You will never inspire a man to spend money on you, to provide for you, to protect you, because you're constantly in your masculine where he feels like he doesn't need to do those things because you're giving energy off as if you don't need him. When you give that type of energy off, you lack receiving anything from him. As a woman, you need to understand, but the older you get, the more mature you get, you will understand this. Another point that I wanted to make, Tahiry was able to get away with this behavior. She was able to be a Masculina because of her youth. But now at her age, at the age of 41, it's catching up to her. No man that is her age or older wants to deal with her. So she's going to end up attracting, and she's going to continue to attract men that are younger than her that she has to provide for. And so she's going to get in this constant cycle of meeting men who don't want to provide for her, where she feels like she has to provide for them because she is in this masculine energy that keeps attracting the same type of man. And what she doesn't understand is that she's going to keep attracting men who expect for her to provide because she is leading within her masculine energy. Men at her age are not going to want to deal with her because she also tends to react out of anger, and she tends to react out of violence when it comes to disagreements and arguments and things like that. So when she was on marriage boot camp, there was a clip that went viral with her then boyfriend on the show where she threw apples at this man, and we only saw the clip of where he reacted. We didn't see the clip that led to his reaction. And so what we saw was Tahiry was upset, she was arguing, and so she ended up throwing 2 apples at him. And apples are hard, and she threw them with force.
That's talent, bro. You know exactly what it is because I walked away from him. Why are you shocking me? Because you don't know. But you don't want to know. You don't want to know. If you don't shut up, yeah, you right now you would have shocked me, I'm sure. Yes, you would have shocked me, and I would have been deserving of it. Yes, this is part of the list. What I'm about to do right now is part of the list. Yes. If I would have got stuck right now, I would have deserved it. But you know what was part of the list?
I don't believe that 2 wrongs make it right, but she did make the first wrong, which made him react. I don't believe that a man should put his hands on a woman. I also don't believe a woman should put her hands on a man. Domestic violence is domestic violence. I don't care who's doing it. Women have to take accountability, especially the ones that walk around in their masculine energy. You are wanting a man to be a provider and protector, but your first reaction when it comes to any form of disagreement, or maybe you're upset with something, instead of you having the emotional intelligence to sit down and have a conversation, you react out of violence. This is why a lot of Black women are discredited when it comes to being victims of abuse or things that are simply done to us by men. I know a lot of you guys are going to say, well, Tahiry is Dominican, she's Dominican. We all know that Dominicans have Afro roots. Even when they don't want to claim their Afro roots, they still have Afro roots, okay? And it's all in the scalp for a lot of them. Tahiry is seen as a black woman, and so this just does not look good for us at all. And you know, it kind of makes us lose credibility. This is why women like Tahiry, is why it's harder for women like Megan Thee Stallion, which is something that I talked about in my previous video, which I'll leave a link down below if you're interested. I talked about how the privileged are basically trying to take over the movement and use it to their advantage and make the focus all about them, when in reality women like Megan Thee Stallion is being ignored and has no credibility at all when it comes to telling her side of what happened. When it comes to Tahiry, she is not helping that. You know, she is also making it seem like we have no credibility, because this is a woman who has acted out in a very aggressive manner on national television. So honestly, when it comes down to it, I just feel like people should keep their hands to themselves. There's no need for a woman to put her hands on a man unless it is truly self-defense. You are not provoking this man. You are strictly defending yourself. You are not attacking him because you are angry, or this is your natural reaction when it comes to things that you don't like or you don't agree with. You are simply trying to defend yourself because he is trying to harm you. There is a very, very, very distinct line as to why you should put your hands on a man. And then also when it comes to being a man and putting your hands on a woman, you should never, under any circumstances, put your hands on a woman. And what he did on the show, which is unacceptable for so many different reasons. If a woman is driving you to a point of violence, you need to walk away. If a woman is constantly taking you to that point of violence, you need to break up with her. You need to distance yourself. You need to move on. You need to find you a more feminine woman to where you guys are not going at it. And the reason why they're going at it so much is because these are two masculine energies. But even same-sex couples understand that one has to be masculine, one has to be feminine, one has to lead, and one has to follow. And one thing that I really like about same-sex couples is that they kind of alternate when to be in their masculine and their feminine. So also, I wanted to use another example. So a Masculina versus a feminine woman. So Tahiry Jose and Phaedra Parks. If you all know Phaedra, she is super feminine. She is like the feminine queen on Marriage Boot Camp. And then you have Tahiry Jose, who is more in her masculine energy. How each man treats their woman is night and day. If you watch Marriage Boot Camp, you will see that. Phaedra Parks tends to carry herself in a way that requires Medina Islam to, you know, take care of her, provide for her, etc. Tahiry, she's so stuck in her ways, in her masculine ways at that she kind of misses the mark as far as what it means to require a man and how to require a man to provide for her in a healthy way that is actually transactional. When you are in a relationship with a man, it's very transactional, and it was just always supposed to be that way. You know, as far as we are the caregivers, we birth the children, and then the men, you know, provide and do all of these things. When it comes to being in a relationship with a man, the sooner you understand that a lot of the things that we do with them, that we encounter with them, is transactional, you'll start to understand why having an alliance with them and having a partnership with them is beneficial to you. It's actually beneficial to both parties. One thing that I wanted to point out is that, you know, some of these other black male YouTubers like to tell women that, oh, if you're 30 and you're never married, then it's too late for you, you're doomed. And I think that's total BS, because Phaedra Parks is a woman who is 46 years old, and because she's in her feminine, she is still attracting men of great quality, men of higher caliber, men that want to provide for her, versus Tahiry Jose, because of her approach to life and dating, love, and relationships, she tends to attract men that are broke, dusties, or simps. So it's all about how you carry yourself, and this is why it's so beneficial for you as a woman to decide how you want to carry yourself depending on how you want to be treated and how you want men to treat you. If you're looking for a provider man, it is beneficial and it has long-term benefits for you to be feminine. And if you are a masculine woman and you don't mind providing for a man, then of course living a more masculine lifestyle is beneficial to you. There's no right or wrong, you guys. It's all dependent on your life and your choices. But I will say, if you are a Masculina, a woman who is looking to get a provider man or have a provider man, there are no long-term benefits, because Tahiry is 41, she is still single, and I don't even think she has a current boyfriend. Also, another thing that I wanted to talk about is Masculinas are never seen as victims. This is another reason why being a Masculina has no long-term benefits, because you're not seen as a victim. Again, this is a woman who wants to get protection from a masculine man, but because she is a Masculina, a lot of people don't see her as the victim. This does not apply to women who are masculine, pansexuals, trans men. They don't deserve protection. That's not what I'm saying. I'm strictly saying that a Masculina who wants a man who's a protector, they're not seen as victims because they tend to be the aggressors within their relationships. They tend to compete with the men in their relationships or men that they date. And so a lot of times they're not seen as the victims when it comes to domestic violence and abuse. And the reason for that, I don't agree with this, but the reason for that is because a lot of times they are seen as the aggressor. So I tuned into Joe Budden's podcast, and I'm gonna play a clip. Based off of what he was saying in the clip, you are kind of leaning more towards the fact that maybe Joe Budden is a little innocent. And I'm going to get into that later, but let's go ahead and tune into this clip, and then I'll be back for the remainder of my commentary.
Oftentimes, some of these stories come out, and we're in this moment where we support everybody. For me, this was nasty and disgusting. Too many years, because I've chose to remain quiet about certain things just so you could continue a certain narrative, those days are over now. This young lady is a liar, a cancerous, toxic liar. You were abusive. You used to beat my ass. You threw shit. You hit me. You kicked me. You did a whole bunch of shit that's not normal for a man to speak out about, because it makes you appear less manly. Mm-hmm. But that was a really, really toxic situation. You said as though your nose was broken as a result of abuse by Joe. You were not clear in how and when and why you got your nose broken. You called me when you got into that physical altercation with that gentleman, and he punched you in your face and your nose was broken. Why this story is coming up now and how it's related to me exactly, I'm unclear. But I can tell you what happened, since your memory seems to be a bit foggy all of a sudden. I received a phone call. Yo, I'm heading to Sin City after party. We're going to turn it up. You go there, you can get in a situation with a guy, he punches you in the face. I receive a phone call. We're on our outs. I only remember this because I was out cheating at the time. I got a phone call. Yo, I got into some shit at Sin City. I need you. Come. We came. I was at the hospital. Were you with me at the hospital? Mm-hmm. There's public record of this. See, and that gets me to some of these bloggers and some of these just reporters that refuse to just authenticate some shit or fact check some shit. This shit is easily searchable. You have been clout/check chasing since our separation. And it pains me to speak this way because my respect for women is too high.
Don't mind how my baby looked. She was in a fight with a guy and lost.
I wasn't in a fight with a guy, first of all, punk. Because who says that about his girl? She was in a fight with a guy and lost. Because
you might win.
You don't even do nothing.
No. That's where you. Well, yeah.
Yeah.
No comment.
Listen, no. That's some good like when you say no comment. That's that was a coward. It wasn't even a man. That's all I have to say. Because I was disrespected, I was violated, and then on top of that, because I defend myself, I came and swung and hit my nose.
Suck my. I'm gonna see you. Don't worry about it.
No,
listen.
On.
So listen, this is it. As I ain't turn the camera on to talk about that. No comment.
Thank you.
Listen.
Thank you.
Joe Budden, Abmouse Budden.
Really
come on, nobody. Your nose, it's fine. Smile wasn't the greatest, and he might have helped you out. Nigga, Mike.
You want me to help you out?
The reason the public is kind of siding with Joe Budden is because of the fact that Tahiry has always carried herself as a Masculina on national television. There were times where she has been provoking other people to react out of violence. And so when it comes to Joe Budden telling his side of what happened or his side of the story, a lot of people are siding with him, and it's really sad. Honestly, my opinion is this. I said I was going to give my opinion, but I was going to save it for later. My opinion is that they were in a very toxic relationship. The reason why I didn't agree fully with Joe wasn't because I didn't believe his side of what happened. It was because I feel like they were both in a bad place when they were in that relationship, and I feel that they were both toxic to each other, and I also feel like they were both violent towards each other. Joe was a drug addict, and when you are a drug addict and you mix that with alcohol, you can be a very mean person, angry person, violent person. And then Tahiry, not coming from probably the best upbringing, and then, you know, not always having the best example and not really being taught how to carry herself as a woman, she most likely was reacting out of violence as well. So I just feel like these are two grown people telling their side of, you know, what happened when they were together, but at the end of the day, we don't really know what the truth really is. I believe that there's three sides to every story, and then there's the truth. So we're hearing each side, but honestly, I mean, when you look at the reality TV shows that they have been on, when you look at how they acted on these shows, I really don't see how either party can be seen as innocent. That is just my opinion. I don't discredit Tahiry by any means. I'm not saying that what happened to her, she deserved it or anything like that, because like I said, two wrongs don't make it right. Regardless of who made the first wrong, it just, two wrongs do not make it right. And that is just my principle. That is my value when it comes to just people putting their hands on people, period. Also, another reason why Masculinas are never seen as the victim is because a lot of times they find solution in being violent. They react out of violence. They like to escalate things to just going straight to being violent. And so a lot of times Masculinas are not seen as the victim. And this is another reason why being a Masculina has no long-term benefits. So that pretty much concludes why being a Masculina has no long-term benefits. I also wanted to add that if you are a black woman, you are put at a huge disadvantage when it comes to other women. And so this is why black women on YouTube teach the mold when it comes to femininity. Because you are out here not necessarily competing with other women, but you are kinda. You're also competing against stereotypes. That is what some of these other women don't have to worry about. So as a black woman, you're competing with stereotypes, and that's why a lot of the black women here on YouTube teach the mold. They teach you to wear certain dresses, they teach you to talk within a certain tone, and they teach you all of these things. It's the same conversation. When you get pulled over by the police, you have to act a certain way. The same conversation growing up as kids. You know, we were told you have to be twice as good. You can't just be good. Being good is not enough when you're a black person. So it's the same thing. It's the same blueprint. It's the same formula. So when it comes to being a woman and you're wanting to lead within your feminine energy, you do have to fit a certain mold, but not too much to where you're losing yourself in your identity. So me personally, I try to find a balance. I try not to change myself so much to where I don't know who I am, but I do try to fit the mold a little bit to where I can get certain benefits, reap certain benefits, and get certain treatments. So I try not to cuss. But cussing is so hard because it's like I'm an Aries, and it's just like I just want to say how I feel. But I understand that acting in that way in certain settings, I don't reap the benefits that I am looking for, or I don't get the treatment that I'm looking for. I also wanted to include this as well. Being a black woman is already hard enough. So when you tap into your feminine, you reap a lot of benefits. You do. You reap a lot of benefits. A lot of benefits. You are basically put in a place of greater positioning, versus when you're Masculina, you are put in a lower positioning. And I don't really like to say you are competing with women, but you are competing with women, but you shouldn't focus on that. You should focus on competing with yourself. You look in the mirror every day and you focus on bettering yourself. You don't focus on competing with these women, but you should focus on being the best version of yourself. And in the process of you focusing on being the best version of yourself, you are competing silently with other women. So with that being said, the society that we do live in, it is conditioned to never see you as the victim. So any little evidence that you give them to discredit you, they will use that against you. And that is what is happening to Tahiry Jose. Because she is seen as a black woman with a Dominican background, she is being discredited because she has given the world too many opportunities to discredit her based off of how she carries herself. So this is something that I would like for you ladies to think about. That is all that I have regarding this video, you guys. I would love your thoughts and opinions. Make sure you subscribe to my second YouTube channel, The Feminine Yoni. I haven't been uploading, but I'm definitely working behind the scenes when it comes to this brand, because this is my baby and I am birthing it and I am taking my time with this. Make sure you head over there and subscribe, and also make sure you hit the notification bell here and over there so that you can be notified for when I upload. This is Real with Yanni, and I will catch you guys in my next video.